Hello and welcome to the Menfulness podcast. We are grateful to have you on board. How are you today? Out of 10? We'd love to know. And what about after the episode? Are we improving your day by being here? We'd love to hear from you. Please let us know in the comments. Now, before we get going, I first of all want to say a few thank yous. We are teetering on our 1000th listen across the audio platforms we're on. If we include YouTube, we're well over that. So a massive thank you. This started as an experiment and the feedback has been absolutely incredible. So first of all, thanks to you for pressing play and staying tuned. Thank you to all of our guests who've shown us about owning their vulnerability and showing us that it's not weak to speak. We've got some incredible conversations coming up for you as well. In other great news, we've secured some funding from the brilliant and generous Two Ridings Community Foundation for some proper gear to help us make sure this podcast sticks around and sounds as good as it can. Big thanks to Johnny from Athame Creative and Dom from Zero Visuals for their advice and support in sourcing everything. Both incredible videographers, so go and check them out on the socials and give them some love from us. So on to today's episode. We've got Frankie Sewell. Frankie is a member and supporter of Menfulness. He ran the 10K with us, where I learned a little bit about his story, and he kindly said that he was ready to come on here and share what he's been through in the hope that it might help someone who's going through a tough time right now. Now, we talk really openly and honestly about suicide in this conversation, and really go right through Frankie's journey from a very, very dark place to where he is now, which is in a much, much better place. And it's a very overall positive conversation, but please do bear this in mind before getting into this conversation if it might trigger anything that you have going on right now. If you are experiencing suicidal thoughts, then you can call the Samaritans 24 hours a day on 116 123. If you're in an emergency and your well-being is at risk, you should call 999. If you're local to North Yorkshire, you could also call the NHS crisis team on 0800 051 6171. Both these numbers are open 24/7. There's people out there who are trained to deal with this. They want to support you. There's absolutely no shame in feeling this way at all. It's estimated that 1 in 5 of us are going to feel this way at some point in our lives. So reach out. We're here to listen. We want you to look after yourself and be safe. So keep talking. How are you enjoying this podcast so far? Maybe if you are, then you can give us a like, comment, or a share, depending on which platform you're finding us on. All that engagement is very much appreciated, and it really helps us reach more people. We know we can't solve everyone's problems, but we really just want everyone to know that we're here if they need us. Finally, I'm planning a special podcast with all the Menfulness trustees, and I really need some questions from you, please. You can comment them here, depending on where you're finding us, or you can email them to yorkmenfulness@gmail.com. If you're a member, then you can just put them in the WhatsApp group. They can be about the charity, our stories, why we do what we do, or just funny or nosy, whatever you want to know. Anything goes, and we will put them to the lads. Thank you, and right now, here's Frankie. Welcome, Frankie.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It's really good for you to be here. I really appreciate it. How are you today?
I am absolutely on top of the world.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That's really good. Before we get going, just want to say thank you for your contribution to our group. You are regularly shouting up with words of encouragement in the Menfulness WhatsApp groups. You came on the 10K with us. That's where we first got chatting, and I talked to you for probably 5 minutes of your story and was like, whoa, we need to talk about this properly. We need some real time together. So, I'm really excited to talk to you. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for all you do for us, man.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's been one of those things I've been excited to do. I have a story to tell. It can be quite scary at sometimes. It can be quite uplifting in others. I love being involved in Menfulness. I'd love to be involved more. I've wanted to be involved for a long time. I can see in some of the groups there's people that are probably where I was. Some of them are where I'm going. Some of them where I currently am. And it's just lovely to be involved in such a group where it's safe to be a man and not feel victimized for being who you want to be.
Absolutely, man. I think it's being able to share your story honestly with people it's liberating. And so, you know, I was humbled that you felt in those few minutes before we started the 10K to tell me what you did.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know, this is why we started the podcast, because actually, even, you know, in our groups and stuff, you don't always get a real chance to sort of focus in on what people have been through. So before we get going, can we talk a bit about sort of who you are and where
Absolutely.
you're from?
Yeah. So for those of you that haven't met me, I'm Frankie. Obviously not from York, although I think York's adopted me. I've been here 10 years now. Originally a Belfast boy, but I've lived in Spain, I've lived in Australia, I've lived in a few other places, which is always good for the culture, good for the head. But moved to York 10 years ago with my ex-wife and 2 kids. You know, single now, been divorced a few years, but decided I wanted to stick about, mainly for the kids. But actually, do you know what? York's such a lovely place compared to where I grew up, Belfast in the kind of 80s, 90s. It was a little bit rough around the edges, if you want to say it. So this is actually quite a nice spot, but I think the kids are a bit too nice. Need to harden them up a little bit.
Yeah. So when did Menfulness become a part of your life then? How did you come upon us?
So it was actually, I think, it might have been my ex-wife that had mentioned about Yorkie dads. And I remember seeing this on Facebook, and you know, I was in the group, but I wasn't really participating. You know, most kids clubs, if anybody that knows, kids activities are all Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, etc., etc. So I could never make the Saturday morning, you know, breakfast clubs. Wanted to do the daddy-daughter hair days. Obviously, I shave my head, so obviously I don't do my hair. And it would have been nice to do my daughter's hair, but I could never make those as well, just with kids' commitments. And then whenever York Menfulness came about, I was like, this is something I could really be involved in.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, you know, more recently has been around the kind of running side of it, and then the 10K, and it was one of my goals this year to run 2 10Ks.
Yeah.
York 10K was the first one. I was like, right, let's just get this done. And it was such a lovely time. It was great to meet everyone finally.
It was, wasn't it? It was really good to get everyone together.
All in their white t-shirts, which I've also used for my other 10K and a few other runs I've done, so I'm always repping.
Right, yeah, so you did another one recently then, did you?
Yeah, I've done the Abbey Dash as well, so that's my 2 for the year.
And how was your time on that?
52 minutes, 53 seconds.
Yes.
I think I did it a little bit quicker, but, you know, I had a hangover.
That's good, man. That's good, man. No, that's really good. I'm glad your running journey's going well. I do feel like, that event kind of brought everyone together. We needed something that we could all do. And, you know, even if you weren't running, there was people waiting for us at the end and cheering us along. And that was a really special time. The start
was cool as well.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? So you moved from Belfast 10 years ago. I mean, I'm guessing for you then at that point, have kids come since then? Is that?
No, so my son was 2. He was 2, and my daughter was 6 months. So 2.5. Sorry, son was 2.5, and my son was, or my daughter was 6 months. We'd lived in Belfast for 5 years prior to that. Before that, we lived overseas. Both of us were holiday reps, so we lived in Ibiza in the summer, Andorra in the winter. So we had a bit of an exuberant lifestyle, really fun. And then we decided things were sort of, you know, getting less lucrative, let's say. You know, commission was going down. I think the game was over. Yeah. So we decided we'd come back and try and make
did you meet out there then?
Yeah, we met in Ibiza.
Ah, that's amazing. So,
we had some cracking times. You know, really thankful that I did meet. I mean, I've got these 2 wonderful kids. Yeah. You know, these things just, you know, have an end life sometime, an end time. So, but so we moved to Belfast then for a few years. Then she wanted to be near her family, and so we moved to York. And I don't regret it at all. No. It's been lovely, and I've met some really cool people. And I've got a whole group of brothers now as well, which is cool.
You absolutely have, man. So how old are your kids now?
My son's 12 and my daughter's 10.
Right. Wow.
Or and a half, if you really want to put it that way. I know that's a big deal for them, but for us, 10 and 12.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool, thank you. What about your fitness journey then? So running's obviously quite important to you. Has it always been? When did that become part of your life?
Initially, no. I was always a bit of a party animal, so weekends were for the living, and you know, that weekend warrior, and then all through the week was just about grinding enough to get money to go out again.
Right.
I think whenever I first moved here, I was still working for a company back in Belfast, and they wanted to do a marathon relay. So I was like, right, I'm going to do this. And when I set myself a goal, I am like a Terminator. It's I'm on it. It's on it. And what my leg was, I think my leg was 5K. So I was like, right, I'm going to get out there. I was a little bit heavier, and I was out in the mornings at 5 in the morning, out running, just trying to, and it got better and better. And then I ended up loving it.
Right.
And I was running like 10 miles. I was, some.
So when was this then?
That would have been, well, probably 10 years ago. It was about 2000. Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think when I moved over here, actually. Yeah, it wasn't long after I'd moved over, so that was quite a while ago, and I really enjoyed running, and then I just fell out of love with it.
Yeah.
Tried to get back into it again. I was like, oh, and it's easy because that kind of sabotaging monkey. I'm sure most people have heard of the chimp paradox.
Inner chimp.
The inner chimp.
Yeah,
he's like, so mine's Funtime Frankie as well.
100%.
He's like, no, just you've done enough, and it's you talk yourself out of it. So I've kind of fell back in love with it again, and that fitness journey has come from round about this year. Was my my goals were to run more, get fitter. So last year was all about getting my head sorted after what's going on. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a bit. It's quite a big thing. This year was all around getting so last year was around getting my head sorted.
Right.
Loads of counselling, trauma counselling, and the guys at York St John's, their trauma counselling centre, fantastic. Are you happy to elaborate on that a bit more? We will do in a bit, And then this year was all about getting the body sorted. So, down 2.5 stone since February. It's 14 kilos.
Whoa, man, no way.
Yeah, so that's been pretty good. So that's, Krav Maga, seriously. And I know that's been on the podcast before, but let's talk about that too. Running, intermittent fasting. Yeah, there's been loads going on. So it's been a very positive journey, and I think it really counteracts or is the opposite end of the scale to where I've been.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think from the way that you support other blokes in the group and the way that you've sent videos. I'll maybe play one when we come back to this. I'll maybe play one for people to listen to, because sometimes it'll be like no one sent a video for a little while, and then you'll pop up going, I've just had the best run, and this is what, and it just gives people that, like, oh yeah, this is, and it reminds people that you never regret a good run. You never regret getting out there and doing something positive for your physical health. But like you say, sometimes you get in your own way, don't you?
Yeah.
But I remember chatting to you and being like, so positive and inspiring. But when you told me what your story was like and how recent some of that stuff was, it was like, geez, like what you've been through in the last few years is more than what a lot of people might go through in a lifetime. So, I don't want to push you, but if you can talk about sort of how, maybe why Menfulness is relevant to you and how you sort of came up, what we bring to your life and what your journey has been about, that would be great.
Happy to. Well, firstly, any trauma that anyone suffers is subjective. So where I say mine was the perfect worst storm is, for me, the perfect worst storm. Somebody else might go, well, I've had way worse. I might have had people that are suffering through some serious issues, your cancer, or people have got AIDS, are really struggling. That's in my head, for me, that was my worst nightmare. And having an outlet where you can talk to guys that is the complete opposite to where I grew up. I grew up in an ultra macho environment where I wanted to talk about feelings to my friends, and it was, don't be a fruit.
Yeah.
And in if anyone doesn't understand how derogatory that is, it's like, don't be gay.
Yeah.
So for me as a 15-year-old boy, talking about feelings, that makes me gay, right? So I can't do that, because then, I'm going to be victimized then, it was just such a wall to hit. Yeah. So then, I've had to create a whole separate character, a whole separate entity to take people's attention off this scared little boy.
Right.
And that was just down to school. I was bullied at school, all verbal, no physical violence, but it just got to the point where I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I had such a good summer, away from everything. It wasn't real life. I was away at my mum and dad's caravan. Nobody knew.
How old were you at this point?
15.
Yeah.
This was like the year before GCSEs. And every year my grandmother, who's passed now as well, she always bought us her school bags. And mum said, Granny was talking about getting your school bags. And I was like, shit, school, no.
Right.
And I decided I would try to kill myself. And that was, as a young lad, that was quite a, it was an easy decision because I didn't want to go back to hell.
Yeah.
And yeah, that shocked the crap out of my parents. Like, and
Did they realise?
No idea.
They had no idea what you were going through at all.
No idea whatsoever. It's easy when things like that happen because it starts off very, very minimal and it snowballs very gradually. Yeah. It's not like all of a sudden something happens, like massive trauma. It's a very gradual thing.
Yeah, of course it is. And it's lots of little experiences. I mean, I had some bullying at school. I mean, nothing to that extent, but I remember at the time, at the age that you are, you feel like this is going to last forever. You don't realise that this is within a year or two, your life will change completely and these people won't be of any importance to you whatsoever. At that time, you're totally immersed in it, aren't you?
You don't realise that this shall pass.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely,
That's
man.
a really good,
sure.
I shared that on the group, actually, this shall pass, that video. But for me, it was like talk about Chinese water torture where it's just a drip.
Yeah.
And the first drip doesn't annoy you and each subsequent drip doesn't really affect you, but when they're massed together, it becomes torture. So, for that, woke up in hospital and, stomach was pumped and all this kind of stuff. Parents were freaking out. They didn't know what was going on. They were just so shocked. And I was discharged from hospital and it was like, there you go. You're done. There's nothing wrong. You're okay. You can go home. And I'm like, fuck.
No talk of any support afterwards.
There was no mental health. There's no mental health awareness. Like, you're talking nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah.
There was none of this, it's okay to speak up and men are okay to be vulnerable. It was like, don't be a fruit. That's,
society was saying that as well as the people in,
I suppose maybe growing up in Belfast and the heart of troubles and all this kind of stuff might have exaggerated that ultra macho environment, but it was certainly something that was like, bit nuts. I mean, I'm thankful for where I grew up because it's given me an education that most people in York don't get because it's nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're sheltered from a lot of stuff.
Very much so, but equally, this is why I kind of wanted to have my kids grow up here so they didn't have that education because some of them are some people really struggle there.
Absolutely.
And you always want to do the best you can for your kids. My parents did the best they could for me, and I think, I know I've had a bit of a rocky journey, but I think I've turned out all right.
Yeah, man, you absolutely have. But I mean, you've come a long way. I mean, how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
Just turned 43 in October.
Right. So
young age.
Yeah. So you go from a suicidal 15-year-old boy kind of suppressing what you want to talk about and who you want to be. And so what next? What happened after that? Did you go back to school and carry on as...
So went back to school and it was kind of like squished a little bit. You weren't allowed to talk, it had to stop basically.
Yeah.
There was things put in place that, it never really stopped. There was a couple of little odd jibes here and there, but for the most of it, it had stopped. And it was a bit of a reprieve, which is fine. Finished my GCSEs. It was kind of middle of the lane, mediocre school. I hated school. Absolutely hated it. It was not for me. Yeah. Subsequently, I've just finished some training for electricians, and I've had to do some crazy science work. I mean, relearn trigonometry, algebra.
I can't imagine going back to school now.
It is mad amount of stuff I've had, but I actually enjoyed it because it was an environment that I enjoyed being in.
Yeah,
and,
passionate about it. You're interested.
It was good. I could see you're sitting at school going, I'm never going to use trigonometry. And I'm never going to use Pythagoras theorem, and it's like all we do in like electricity is about triangles.
Actually?
Yeah.
Wow, no way.
Which I could talk about, but so that was quite funny. Going back, knob, you will use this. Back to school, done my GCSEs, and I was kind of just middle of the. I wouldn't say that I'm stupid. I'm not like massively intelligent. I know I'm smart, but I'm not going to sit here and sit about IQ tests and all that kind of stuff. But stayed on at school, did an A-level in technology and a GNVQ at the time. I don't know if they still do them or something, but did those. And most of those people that were involved in kind of bullying had left because, they just wanted to go out and do whatever they were doing. I wanted to do something different. Like I was the first one of my family to go to uni. Most of my friend groups to go to uni as well, which I hated. Hated uni as well. I'm not an academic person. I don't suit that setting.
So how did you decide what to do? What did you do at uni? And
I done a GNVQ. I did a GNVQ in manufacturing and an A-level in technology. And the A-level, I got a D, and which is an academic setting, you know,
Yeah.
cram,
Yeah.
do an exam, not great at them.
No.
Whereas the GMVQ got a distinction with extra honours, and our work was used for as a benchmark for the UK. So academic wise, I'm stupid.
So this
Vocationally,
yeah.
I'm
And so this was on the job coursework, long term projects
coursework,
rather than can you
Can you
recite things in
regurgitate
an
all
hour?
this?
Yeah, right, got you.
So
Okay.
the difference in those two learning styles was day and night. You know,
yeah.
you know, what does people say? If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you're going to look stupid. You
Yeah.
know? So that was my first indication about how learning styles can really affect people.
Yeah.
Went to uni, and it was around a kind of sort of cajoled into something.
Whereabouts did you go?
At University of Ulster in
Yeah.
Belfast. I was just outside of Belfast.
Yeah.
You know, family, it was all means tested, so I got to go there for free, which is good. So I don't have any student debt, thankfully, which is good. I think that was the year before student loans first came in.
Right. And did you move?
No, well, I stayed at home.
You stayed at home,
Stayed
did
at
it?
home,
Yeah,
so and I was able to travel there, so
Yeah.
it wasn't so bad. And you know, I had an alright time, but it wasn't one of those like, oh yeah, uni was amazing. I just no. So I left, and I was working at Tesco at the time, so I continued working there. And I was like, right, I need to do something here. I'm not this guy that stays in Belfast and gets married and stays at the same pub and does the same thing week in, week out.
Right.
So I'm backpacking around the world.
What age at this point?
I was 21.
Wow.
Yeah, so I said for a year and a half, I said to my mates, I'm not going out. Like at this point, I was out every weekend, you know, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday.
So you just switched it off.
It was like, I told you, when I've got something in my head, I'm like,
you're
fucking,
goal based,
I'm
goal
not.
driven.
About a year and a half, some of my friends were like, nah, you're full of shit, you're not going. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, I've booked my tickets, I'm going.
Yeah.
I started off in Amsterdam, ended up in Toronto.
Whoa! So saved enough to stay out there.
Did
you work while you're out there then? Or?
No.
So you had enough money to stay out for 18 months and just...
No, I think I was away for 9 months.
Right.
In total, yes. And I was like, I had met some mad people. Like, it was a real education. See, growing up in Belfast, you can, I wouldn't say pigeonhole people, but it is pigeonhole. You can say, right, you're an arsehole. Or, you know, I'm not going to get on with you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, like, say, oh, I'm not going to make an asshole out of you.
No,
I'll just
be
like
fall out with someone.
No, I'm just like,
you
not,
know
not my
who's
kind of
your
person.
people and not.
Yeah, and you know, you can sort of spot those guys that are going to try and, you know, I'd say stroke you, as in like, you know, try and get something out of you that you don't want to give, whether it be money or information or whatever. You can judge.
You can spot them a mile off. Yeah. So that helped you while you were traveling then?
Yeah, and then that sort of like, what would you say, furthered that education. So I was like, oh, I've met some mad-ass people, but really, really cool people as well, you know, really poignant people. Like I'd done a bungee jump in Thailand and a skydive in Australia.
So you've been all over,
I've been all over, man,
right, amazing.
Which is the reason for some of the tattoos as well.
Yes. We'll get to the tattoos.
Yeah, we will indeed. So yeah, I went backpacking and I was all over the place. You know, I was in Australia and I was in Canada and stuff, and then I came home, got a job temporarily in a bank. They ended up keeping me on, offering me a full-time contract.
What was that like though, going from all that to like working in a bank? Like that's a big... I've never been travelling. I'd love to. I feel like that has passed me maybe until much later in life.
I think it's past, that style is past now, because with the age of the internet, as in on your phone, like the internet was, I remember first coming out, it was like dial-up internet, like and after an hour it cut out, you know.
Yeah.
And I was the first one to download like MP3s and
LimeWire.
And I had my own computer in my room and I had my own dial-up internet because I paid for it myself because I was working. And I had my own phone in my room, like a proper like a phone on the wall. And I was like, people were like, oh, can you get me this CD and can you get me that? And I was like burning CDs, and I was like, you know, people were coming to me. I was like a drug dealer of like MP3s. It was hilarious. And yeah, so I had a couple of CDs with me. I remember this one time actually walking down Koh San Road in Thailand, in Bangkok, and I had my headphones on, and it's a song called 10 and 1. It's a dance track, and I was walking down, I had this on, it was just like grooving down, and it's almost like the crowds parted as I walked. And I was like, I'm 6'1", they're all like midgets, so I was like walking down, they're going, this is amazing. And yeah, so coming home was really strange because it made me realise that nothing really changes unless you make a change.
Yeah.
And that's something that has sort of stuck with me in life. You know, people that I knew were still in the same job or something similar, maybe they were married, maybe they were with the same girlfriend, maybe had a child, but nothing had really changed. There was no aspirations.
You didn't feel like you'd actually missed a lot by going away.
I'd missed nothing.
Yeah. We talked about this with Wayne last podcast, that idea of kind of having an inside out or an outside in experience. Like some people, me included for most of my life, deflecting, feeling the world is happening to you rather than you are making it happen from within, you know, and that the distinction of that can change things for you. I guess going traveling is one of those things. It's like, this is what I'm used to, this is what I know, but if I put myself on the other side of the world with people who I don't know, it forces a complete change in your environment.
And actually what you're saying there, I think the inside out and the outside in, I think that can change in different parts of your life as well.
Yeah.
So I've had both actually.
Yeah.
But, you know, you sort of, I just had a really weird flashback actually of sitting in the back of a pickup truck, because in Koh Phangan, where they have the full moon parties, they have concrete slabs going up hills, so they don't have roads, and it's pickup trucks have to like go and the cash machine was at the other end of the beat, or the other end of the island, so you had to get a back of a pickup truck to go to the cash machine to come back. But I drank a magic mushroom milkshake and I was sitting in the back of this truck watching myself going, what? Yeah, like going through a jungle. I was like, yeah. So there's been some really funny stories.
Yeah.
But coming back to real life was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then I sort of get into the rat race a little bit, and I bought a car, and I was still at home. I said to my friends, you know, if I buy a house, because I was bored of sitting at home, I was like 23 at this time. I was like, you know, if I buy a house, would you move in, pay rent? You know, for me, I'm thinking I'll get a house, and then, you know, they'll help me pay the rent or help me pay the mortgage, etc. Like, no, I'm okay. I just like doing the same thing. And again, it was going over and over. You sort of falling into that rat race, and I was like, no, this is not me.
Right.
And I saw this ad for it was in the Telegraph, Belfast Telegraph, for anybody that really cares. And it was this guy sitting with a big afro. I think he was a black guy actually, in the big mad afro and 70s outfit, and it was like, we don't have a usual career, so we don't employ usual people. And I'm like, whatever that is, I'm having it.
Before you know what it is,
I don't care what the fuck it is. I'm like, I'm really interested in this. And it was because of the whole dress. It was fancy dress, you know. It was like, that seems really interesting. So it was to be a holiday rep,
right?
And I was like, yes,
yeah.
And I was like, let's have a go at that. So I went down and trialled it out, and at that point I was helping out in the boys brigade. This was like something I'd been in for all my life, and I was a leader in that, and I was helping.
Is that like
it's like scouts, but it's a bit more sort of like Christian orientated, which is funny because I'm atheist now, which is funny. And so I used that experience to get me in as a kids rep. So yeah, I looked after people's kids in kids clubs in Ibiza, which was fun, and probably partied more than anybody else out there.
Probably needed it after looking after all those kids for so long.
No, it was actually a load of fun, because I was it was this whole persona I created called Funtime Frankie. He was in full swing. This was the guy that was allowed full reign of what was going on, and even inside, sometimes I knew this is probably not good, but it was keeping people away from this scared little boy.
So when did Funtime Frankie come about then? After
the first suicide attempt. This was a way for me to kind of protect the scared element, you know, the one that wasn't being treated. There was no mental health, you know, care at all. It was, I just had to sort of create something in myself.
Like a coping mechanism.
I was like, don't look at this over here. Look at this guy. Look.
Yeah, having a great time and being everything that everyone wants.
Loudest guy, latest up, craziest person. You know, if shit had to happen, he was in the middle of it.
Yeah, again, probably not to the same extent, but I recognise that. I want to show up as this person because this is what people expect, and this is what people respond well to this person. And actually, the person that I actually am, I don't like all that much. And actually, I've figured out a way to suppress that guy and be this guy.
Exactly.
And so started at 15 then, sort of 15, 16 years old.
Maybe not fully developed, if you want to call it that way, but that's kind of where I had to deflect. That's where the first deflection really started.
Right.
So from then it was easy for that person to thrive, because there was a lot of don't look over here.
Yeah.
You know, and then that person became just who I was.
Right. So you were Funtime Frankie more than you were.
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, he was an extroverted, crazy guy that everyone loved to be around.
Yeah.
And actually, myself, sometimes, like the true me, I can be a bit introverted.
Right.
So it's strange that character.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I love being out. I'm a social person. I love being around people. I love talking to people, having a bit of a laugh.
Of course.
What we call having the crack.
Having a crack, yeah.
Having the crack is an Irish thing, not to be the stuff that you smoke.
Yeah.
As Ali G once said about
Yeah.
Belfast. So yeah, that was something, especially being a rep. That was, he was in full swing.
Well, you've got to be on all the time, presumably, doing a job like that.
Yeah, I mean, people have a strange view of what a holiday rep is.
Yeah. Well, I imagine 1830s getting people to do shots, running around Ibiza in all the clubs and knowing everyone, and probably just king of the party.
To a certain degree, yeah, there is that.
Yeah.
But you can't do it all the time. You start off out every night,
Right.
Whatever else is going on,
Yeah.
whether it's women or whether it's drugs or drink or
Yeah.
whatever. But you soon have to stop because you just get sick.
Right.
You just can't
Can't
do it all the
manage it.
time. So it's like the whole burning the candle at two ends, that kind of
course,
thing.
yeah.
But 2004 was probably the best year of my life.
Right.
Yeah, and that was the first year in Ibiza, and it was just, sort of jumping back a little bit to that recruitment day. I rocked up, and it was, I think they were just like, no, we need him. Because I had that energy. It was like, let's do this. I really want to be involved in this. So I went to Blackpool to their recruitment day, and there was loads of these kind of kids that have been at college doing some sort of childcare or something or other, and I'm like rocking up like fucking 23. This dude, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I was like, yeah, let's go out. I got everybody pissed the night before our assessment, and I rocked up and just completely was winging it.
Yeah.
And I made up this whole thing, like, how would you get kids to come into the kids club? And I'm like, sounds a bit fucking weird, like, but all right. This is all before like way before Jimmy Savile and stuff had come out, and I was just like, and you're just like this, thinking about that now. That question was like, if you asked that now, it'd be very very different. So for me, I was like, oh well, and then I made this whole Wizard of Oz thing. I was like, I'll put yellow bricks here, and I started like dancing about, going, follow the yellow brick road, and I was still drunk, and I was like,
And you were freestyling this pretty
completely,
much. Oh my
and I was
God,
like,
man.
this is like, that was another one of those really surreal moments.
Yeah.
Going, am I really doing this? Am I still pissed? What's going on? And they were like,
This is my career.
yeah. And then,
Incredible.
then they were like, well, where would you like to be placed? And I'm like, Ibiza
Yeah.
or Ibiza or Mallorca, so I could go to Ibiza, because I'd always wanted, because I'd said to my friends before, should we get a house? And they're like, no, it's fine. And we're like, well, let's go to Ibiza, let's go clubbing, let's do it properly, let's have some.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we can't afford it, it's too expensive. I'm like, right, fuck, I'm doing something different. So I got to Ibiza
Had
another
you
way.
not done Ibiza
No.
before being a rep there?
No.
All right.
I've always wanted to go, but I was like,
Yeah, man.
and again, if I want to do something, I'm going to find a way to do it.
Oh, I mean, I did Ibiza as a punter.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. So it's another world. It's
Definitely.
especially from a music and a club perspective.
Oh man, it was,
and sunsets and everything. But equally, I can't imagine. It was so expensive, and it was so short-lived.
Yeah.
And it's a blur. So to make that your life,
it was awesome.
Yeah.
Like Wednesday night, we generally had a Wednesday night off or a Thursday off, so Wednesday night was a big night out for us, because weekends are irrelevant there. It's, you can do whatever you want really anytime.
Of course, yeah.
For us, well, for me, the one I enjoyed most was at Pacha.
Oh yeah.
I'll speak a bit of Spanish, so it's like, it's not Pacha, it's Pacha.
All right, okay. Right.
And it was Eric Murillo.
Oh yeah.
Eric Murillo playing,
Yeah.
and it was Subliminal Sessions, and it was class. it was just really, honestly.
And so you were off. So you got a couple of nights off a week then, presumably.
Yeah, we had
then
a day and a half off a week, so you got one night off and then another like half day somewhere else. But
and were you able to choose which nights off you wanted?
No.
Was it like, oh, they're playing?
Well, it was
that
like
place,
depending on
I can-
airport days, so there's maybe
Right.
three or four airport days. So some of the time,
Yeah.
like I remember going to Cream on a Tuesday night, and then I was like at the airport the next morning. There's times that like straight from a club out. Honestly, I'm not going to go into too much, but some of it was like, you just come out of space, and the kids were like, oh, I was in the swimming pool today. I'm like, I was in space this morning, sunglasses on.
Wow,
it was insane.
Yeah, I can imagine, but it sounds like so much fun, dude.
It was really good. There was it was a group of people that were very like-minded,
Yeah.
very funny, and I'm still like, I've got groups on WhatsApp. I'm still friends with like, loads of them, and we still talk all the time. And
That's good.
it's one of those things that you can't really explain to someone because it's an experience. It's like trying to
You've got to
explain
have been there.
It's like trying to explain to someone what being a parent is like that doesn't have a kid.
Yeah.
It's like trying to explain to someone what the taste of a new color is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah.
But just to put it bluntly, it was like some of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
Because it was free.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd really kind of spread your wings a bit.
Yeah.
Kind of gone, right, well, I need to...
And there were other crazy people there, so my Funtime Frankie was in a group of peers, and it was just fun, and you could just be yourself, and I was able to relax a little bit, but equally, you know, you were being spurred on to drink as many shots as you could, and all that kind of stuff.
So even on the nights where you were working, you would still be drinking.
No, well, the first year I was a kids rep, so I wasn't out working on bar crawls. The second and third year I was a mainline rep, so I was like leading bar crawls and things like that. But it was
learned to stay sober.
Yeah, well, you kind of have a different laugh with them, you know. And then winters we did Andorra, so we're like snowboarding and things like that.
Right.
So
just got a flight from Ibiza.
no, you had to come home to get your winter stuff because obviously you're like going from like you know come home for like 2 weeks, leave all your summer stuff.
It's one extreme to the other.
But it was
super hot and then super cold.
But it's a different kind of holiday and a different kind of working experience. And actually, the ski holidays were class.
Did you do some skiing and stuff as well?
Yeah, well, I prefer to snowboard, but yeah, it was wicked. Like so. Yeah, I did that. I proposed to my ex-wife at the top of a mountain up there as well. So it was like, like dead romantic and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was some really wicked times. Like, I've met some amazing people.
Yeah, and you're still in touch with them.
Still in touch with quite a few of them. Yeah.
And so, what year did you propose then? When was that?
That would have been 2004. 2005. Started that sort of around just after Christmas, and then we finished after the winter of 2006, 2007.
Came home. Was it
back to Belfast? Yeah.
Just what brought you home? How did you know it was the end?
Well, it's kind of one of those things. You're like at a party, and it's like, you know, sun's starting to come up, and you're like, I think it's time to go home now.
Right, got you. Yeah.
But no, it was more to the point where commissions were going down, as in like, you know, the percentage of it, and it was hard to, you know, it was just getting. I think it was starting to come to an end. Yeah. Like holiday repping's done now. There may be some of these people that are doing something, but it's not the same. And even my experience of holiday repping was different to some of the other guys, you know, from previous years.
Yeah.
Like I think some people in the 90s and like late 90s were coming home with thousands a season.
Right.
Like literally cash stuffed in, like, you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
Mega bucks. And then obviously then those guys were getting promoted. They were like, well, actually, I want to keep some of that money, and then the companies were taking more commission. Right. And it got to the point we were on like sort of 5% commission. Where, you know, prior to that, might have been on like 60% commission.
Yeah, so you were funding your lifestyle out there, but not building up a.
And as you say, Ibiza was expensive, so
massively.
You know, we didn't get any discount on drinks. We got in free most places. Yeah, but you know, it was still expensive to go out.
Absolutely,
but fun.
Yeah, yeah.
So we moved back to Belfast. I got a job selling insurance, selling advertising, selling. I was just doing all kinds of jobs, and then I ended up in market research. Funny enough, it was a job I fell into from a recruitment agency, just interviewing people, and again just came into my own. And the guy was like, "Oh, you know, really, I could see something. Would you be able to help me here?"
Yeah.
And I worked for him for about 8 years.
Interviewing, recruiting.
Yeah, so well, it was mainly in shopping centres. Just as people were leaving, it was them just asking them, you know, questions about their visit, etc. And then they used that information, analysed it, etc.
Yeah.
And then I moved up to project manager, and then managing all the project nationally, and then became the research director for them.
Wow, no way.
And then it was made redundant. So it was that company that I ran the marathon, which first got me into running.
Right.
Or the marathon relay, sorry. And it was made redundant from that. I got a job at Leeds Building Society. Worked there. It was the exact opposite of my personality.
Right.
It was very dull. And then I got a job at a company called Emerald, which they're an academic publisher.
Right.
So it was global. Had a chance that they sent me to Texas to talk to a group of librarians about user experience in academic libraries. No fucking clue what was going on.
Been all over, mate.
But I absolutely winged that. But because of the accent, I was able to just stand in front of like 300 people. They're like, "Wow!" And I was just like,
"Yeah, that's amazing, dude."
So funny.
Wow. So when was that? When was this? When did you do that?
That would have been probably about 2018 ish, right about
Okay.
then. And at that stage again, I was earning loads of money. Bought myself a nice car.
Yeah.
Things were seemingly okay. I saw money as a success factor or
Yeah.
a measure of success, and it was
Right.
like the more money I could earn and the nicer things I had, it was all because I couldn't feel.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling anything. I was like a stone.
But you didn't recognize that at that time. At that time,
No.
you were going through the motions. You were
That
doing.
was my only success factor.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I could judge success as, how much
Yeah.
money I was making. I was
Yeah.
like moving jobs, getting like 10 grand pay rise,
Wow. I
And
mean,
I was-
I think that's how a lot of people benchmark,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah.
it? Is what's the next promotion? Where am I?
It's only
supposed to
until you
go?
lose everything you realise that money is irrelevant, really.
Yeah.
So marriage sort of started to break down right about then. I think our society is about stick together as long as you can. If you've got
Yeah.
kids, you have to stay together, And actually, it's okay for things to end.
Yeah.
Me and my ex-wife we're really good terms.
Oh, yeah, that's
we're
really
not
good.
best friends, but
No.
we talk pretty much every day. We talk about the kids a lot. We co-parent like motherfuckers.
That's really good, man. That's really good.
It's taken a while to get there. It wasn't a particularly nice breakup, and it wasn't a nice divorce process.
Right.
But I think we're through it now, and we work well together.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you say, some people go, well, we've got kids, we've got to stay together. And actually,
Yeah.
that then adds pressure to the relationship, and it adds, you end up staying together for so long that it gets really nasty. And
It's okay for things to end,
yeah.
and it's doing like I always said to the kids, it's not bad, it's just sad.
Yeah. Yeah. How did they take it then? How did that?
My daughter didn't really grasp what it was about.
Yeah.
She was still young. She was only like 5, so
Yeah.
it didn't really,
Yeah.
didn't really. My son was he was very involved with us. The both of us are very hands-on parents. We're very hugs and kisses and stuff.
Yeah.
And always affectionate with the kids.
Yeah.
And what they missed the most was seeing us at the same time.
Yeah.
We still have the same love and relationship we do with
Yeah.
them. It's just separately,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they really missed that. So we have tried to do things like last Christmas, I think, went out for some food, the 4 of us just.
That's so good, man.
And I get on really well with their partner. He comes to watch my son play football, and we
Yeah.
have a bit of a chat, and it's all cool.
Yeah.
It's just a different. It's a
That's
different stage.
healthy.
in
It's
life.
healthy,
Yeah.
and it's quite normal. I mean, for
It's
my
nice.
age, most of the people I know, parents split up.
Yeah.
I think it was quite regular. People got together quite young,
Yeah.
and they got together at a time of their lives when they were still figuring out who they were.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that people could still be that same person and still be compatible
Yeah.
10, 20 years later, it
Well, that's
kind
it.
of doesn't make sense, really. Does it?
Well, the 2 of us met when we were holiday reps. She
Yeah.
was 20, I was 24. It
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
unless you're lucky enough to find that person that you can grow with
Yeah.
and not grow apart. Some of that may have been whenever I first moved here. I'd moved from having lots of friends and family around me to just being me
Yeah.
on my own.
Yeah.
And some of that was self-inflicted. My ex was going, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? But I was feeling depressed, and it's hard to do anything when you're feeling that
Yeah.
way, because yes, exercise is it's the best medicine for anything, pretty much.
Yeah.
We all know
Of
this,
course.
but when you're in that state, you're like, you don't want to do much of it.
No, motivation comes after action, doesn't it? And you
It
don't
does.
always want to put that.
Yeah.
So at this point, did you realise that you were depressed? Did you?
I probably recognised it, but didn't want to admit it.
Right.
And I've actually apologised to my ex-wife about this and said, I'm sorry that I didn't listen to you, because she did genuinely care and was trying to help me, and that probably could have, would have, should, all that kind of stuff. It's over and done with, but
Yeah.
there were things that she was suggesting to do, and
Blokes have a tendency to be like, "I'm all right.
I'm fine.
Just leave
Yeah.
it. I'll be right. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
or the Belfast version.
Yeah. But that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it sort of a
I'm okay. I don't need help.
yeah?
I'll
I'll get
realistically.
through this without anyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've been coping with it my whole life. I don't
Yeah.
need anybody to try and step in and do it. Funtime Frankie and I are going to get through this, you
Yeah.
know. But for us to survive, I worked during the day. She had the kids. She worked at night in Leeds, and I looked after the kids. And I just sort of used that as an excuse to why not to do things. But
yeah.
marriage broke down. Sort of going through that. Then COVID started coming in, and I was made redundant.
Oh,
Uh, So this was kind of the start, and I call this my perfect worst storm.
Yeah.
It was the probably the darkest time of my life, and bear in mind I'd already tried to kill myself once.
Man.
You know, this was some pretty dark place. So being involved in a business where I was always about, and people were always asking me to, you know, to take part in projects and do this and fix that, and I love fixing problems. To being made redundant, I was like, right, I'm okay, you know, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'll get a job and, you know, deliver in a Tesco or do something just to kind of tide me over. And then I was getting knocked back after knockback, overqualified. You know, my CV is brilliant because of all these jobs.
Yeah.
They're very well
What are you going to
paid.
do? Lie and say that you've not done these things? So actually, we think you'll leave, so we won't give you the job in the first
that's exactly
place.
why I invested in you, because
man.
you're going to leave as soon as you get something better. And then whenever like COVID properly hit and we were locked down, I was sitting there going,
Oh man.
this is like my flat was a prison.
Oh no.
You know, now I see it as a fortress of solitude. It's great,
Yeah.
but then I was like, I'm stuck on these walls, and I remember trying to play right by the system, and I went to Universal Credit and said, you know, I've been made redundant. You know, I'm sort of not working. I'm applying for jobs. Here's all the things I've been doing. They asked me about equity, or, you know, what money I had. I said, well, I've just been bought out of my house, but I'm keeping that for a house deposit. What do I need to do to support and make sure that I'm, you know, keeping things right? Well, those are savings. You've got to live off it. And I'm like, but that's my house deposit for me and the kids.
Yeah.
You know.
So they expected you to burn through that before they would support you. And
so at that point, the kids were still a bit younger. They were sharing a bedroom. I'm in a 2-bedroom flat at the minute still.
Yeah. Same place.
Same place, yeah. Same place. So initially I was going to move there for a year, buy a house once the divorce was settled and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, 4-bedroom house to myself and all this kind of bullshit that I was going through. And... so they were like, no, live off it. I'm like, well, do you know what? So I cleared all the debts. You know, I paid my car loan off and I paid a few other things off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you're getting through that money pretty quickly. You know, are you just trying to get rid of it? And I'm like, no, I'm being sensible for once and clearing. You know, there's no point me just living as it is, and then it gets to the point, and then I've got debts.
Still being in debt. Yeah.
So I cleared that, and they were like, no, you've still got to live off this. We can't support you. And I'm like, but if you own a house, you would get supported for that.
Yeah.
But because I want to keep this as the pot. Anyway, they didn't see it like that.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So I was like, well, I'm going to have a good time. So recreational drugs, you know, that all started a bit of fun. And then that started, that was a very slippy slope.
Yeah.
So
through COVID as well. So you're at home.
Yeah, I was at home.
Time. At home. Yeah.
This was like it started off funny, you know, I was sharing videos with mates and me doing stuff, and they were like, it was funny.
Yeah.
And then it started getting a bit dark when people are going like, are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm good, you know.
But you're on your own. That's the other thing, is that recreation. Recreation. The idea would be that you're in a room full of people that you get on with, and whereas actually, when you hang up from the phone call, it's just you. Yeah,
and it's just me all the time. And I think at that point, I was craving people. Like, you'll laugh at this as well, but just before COVID had happened, I was still working. I was doing some Cuban salsa in Europe,
right, yeah,
and in Leeds as well.
Yeah, I can imagine it. I'm not going to laugh. It makes sense.
It was awesome though, because it was very good fitness, and it was, you know, it was very sociable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Traveling across the Leeds on a Wednesday and a Saturday night sometimes as well. I was just dancing all the time. I was loving it.
That sounds nice.
And then obviously COVID closed. You weren't allowed to be near anybody, so the school closed. So I went from like having lots of stimulus, positive stimulus.
Yeah.
You know, it was quite healthy. I was cooking, I was dating, I was generally enjoying being single, and you know, nothing too crazy. And then it all stopped. So it was like a switch just flipped. No job, no social life, nothing. I was just saying, I'm pretty bored here. I was like, what do you do now?
Yeah.
And that sort of decreased, and it just got slippier and down and down. And anyone that's feeling the way that I was, you'll recognize, if you can imagine quite a wide well with a set of steps going down, spiraling down the outside of it, and you walk down it very, very slowly, and then all of a sudden you look up and go, fuck, where's the light? I've come down so far. See, that far you can't even see where the light is. You know, and that at that point in my head, it was bad.
How long do you think it took then for you to get down to that point?
A couple of months, I reckon.
Right.
You know, if you want to say it for probably truth, 20 years.
Yeah, so this had been This had
30
been
years
coming.
maybe. You know, this
Funtime
is,
Frankie was playing a part in this.
he was
Everybody,
distracting that, but it was still walking down that mental
Yeah.
health. I mean, it was distracting myself sometimes, and maybe I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling as bad, but that depression was still, I call it a sneaky little ninja that's trying to kill me.
sneaky little ninja.
As soon as you take your eyes off it, boom, baseball
Yeah.
bat to the back of the head.
Yeah.
But because I was active, I was out, I was dancing, I was, you know, out doing things. It was fun.
You distracting.
I was
you-
distracting the ninja,
Yeah.
you know. Scary times, man.
Yeah, man. And this is the other thing. It's not that long ago. We're
Nope.
talking about a couple of years.
February, just would have been a year ago in February.
Right. And how did you, I mean, you'd already pulled yourself out of a situation like this when you were a teenager, but presumably you felt a lot different to that person.
This was the February, not February, the 15-year-old side of it was so like not even in the same ballpark.
No.
This
And
was
there wasn't a familiarity. It wasn't like,
No.
I've been here before.
No, this was like-
different.
this was. I'm trying to think of an analogy that would be like, you know, you think of like whenever you're maybe scared when you're younger and you see something under the bed or a shadow.
Yeah.
Like the difference was there was a fucking real T-Rex trying to eat me.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't
Yeah,
even
this
just a
was real.
shadow. This was something
Yeah.
that was like you could smell its breath.
Yeah.
You know, you I'd convinced myself that my kids were better off with me not being alive.
Oh, Frankie.
That's that, and anybody that's a parent will probably go, "What? Hi,
Yeah.
scary place, your mind. You're
Yeah.
your own worst enemy."
Yeah.
I knew all my tricks. I knew all my little self-loathing, all the scary secrets, and where all the bodies were hidden. No actual bodies,
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah.
you know,
You knew yourself so well that you knew how to prevent yourself from getting out.
yeah. And it was,
And you were on your own. I mean, this is the other
I was
thing.
on my
is
own.
that
Yeah.
This would be bad enough anyway. Do you think this would have happened without COVID?
A lot of people have asked me that. It's hard to answer because I think there was an inevitability. It was going to happen,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of this may sound weird. In a way, I'm thankful for being here now and having experience in it, because
Yeah.
it's taught me a hell of a lot about myself. I know myself so well now than
Yeah.
anyone would ever know themselves.
Yeah.
Because of the work I've done. I've done some trauma counselling, which we can talk about as well. Did some real difficult, hard work.
You strike me. I said this to Aidan too. If you listen to Aidan's podcast, that you sense it when you're in the presence of somebody who knows himself and who's been through it and who's come out the other side of it. Because there's kind of a safe, warm understanding of kind of, you know, I can tell you anything because I know you've been through it and back again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the separation as well.
Yeah.
So I look back at that Frankie, and I do feel sad for him.
Yeah.
But it is a different person.
Right. So yeah, when you look back, you see.
It's like watching
Do
myself
you
on
see
TV.
Funtime Frankie then, or is Funtime Frankie still
I think Funtime Frankie's always going to be a part of me.
right?
It's working in conjunction with that
Yeah.
entity to say that there is a time and a place to go a wee bit mad and
Yeah.
have fun. Going out, like I love a dance floor.
Yeah.
You know, just up there, just grooving. You know,
Yeah.
it's all good, but not on a Tuesday afternoon.
You know when when to unleash
Well, I'm
it.
trying. I'm
Yeah,
trying.
yeah.
I don't think I'm ever gonna like take over that. You talk about the chimp paradox. You're never ever gonna beat a chimp in its pure
No.
strength,
And
but
we've
you can-
evolved to be.
but you can
Subservient,
exercise that
yeah.
chimp as well. So I'm
Yeah.
really, I do a lot of work on that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you do strike me as somebody sort of focused, and did those kind of that goal setting, focus mentality help you to come out of this period of your life? How have we got this Frankie now?
Where am I? How did I get to where I am?
Yeah.
So following that kind of dark period, I tried to kill myself again in February. That was, I didn't even realize it was Valentine's Day. It was just the day where I was like, I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And
Man, I'm so sorry you've been there. I'm so
as
sorry,
long as that experience can help someone else,
man.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does,
You know,
man.
and that's the whole
It
point
does.
why I wanted to come on here, is that if anyone's thinking about that in any respect or going that way, hit us up.
Yeah.
Come to the group. Come and say hi. talk. There's guys on there that have opened up.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about specific cases, but I've been like, dude, this is okay.
Yeah.
You're here. You've done the hard work.
Yeah, and you were there, and now you're where you are now, and it is possible.
It's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
If I can get myself out of my worst nightmare,
Yeah.
the scariest, deepest, darkest place I've ever been,
Yeah.
and I've been in various different planets, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Yeah.
And probably the most poignant thing that I learned was that I'm not unique. I'm not special. This happens to loads of guys.
Yeah.
Whatever you're feeling, somebody's been through it already.
Yeah, and it shall pass.
It shall pass. This shall pass. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Whether it's good, bad, or ugly,
Yeah.
it'll pass. Everything's temporary. If you can just get through a day, and if a day's too long, get through half a day. If it's too much, do an hour.
Yeah.
But
Keep
put your
going,
hand. If
keep
you feel like you're singing, put your hand up. Us guys here will come and help you out.
So did you then at this point? How did you get from there to here?
So that was my friends and my family. Once they realised what had happened, I mean, so many people were shocked.
Were you able to tell them then? You said, look.
I sent my family some videos,
Right.
and actually unintended consequences were something I also learned. I sent videos to every family member saying goodbye, and not one of it was like, you're an asshole. It was like, I'm really sorry that I'm leaving, but if anything you can learn. I was trying to give advice, and what I was trying to do was give them something they could understand why I done what I done in a caring way. But actually what I showed them was me at my absolute most worst hurting period ever that I've ever had, and it inadvertently hurt them, and I didn't mean that at all.
No, but I can imagine at that time you were probably trying to protect them in some way.
That's exactly what it is.
You've got something, when I go, there's something left that you can make sense of and that you can relate to.
I actually put it off a week because it was giving blood. That absolutely baffled the psychiatrist as well.
But also that it does kind of again show that it's not like you have to have made the plan and then weeks and weeks go by. It's actually, you can be engaging in society.
Oh yeah,
up to the last minute.
Yeah, it was for want of a better word, it was crazy. Because like when I was trying to explain this to some of the psychiatric nurses and stuff, and the crisis team in York, by the way, at York Hospital, the crisis team, they were. I can't wait till I'm earning enough money where I can buy them something as a thank you. They honestly, if you're in need, York crisis team are there, and they are bloody fantastic.
That's really good to hear, because you hear so many horror stories at the moment of kind of
those guys
how stretched everyone is and
bang
services.
on it.
Oh, that's good.
Bloody fantastic. If you're feeling like that bad, I mean, there's the Samaritans and all these guys.
Yeah.
If you're really feeling that bad and you don't want to talk to somebody in Menfulness or Samaritans, York crisis team, please reach out.
Yeah. Well, we'll post the information about how to get in touch with them.
But I wanted to say a big thank you to them, and if any of them's listening, you've made a difference. I'm here.
That's
I'm
amazing.
still here. So, I mean, what else helped me? So my folks, they came over, and it's funny, I was just talking to my kids about this tonight. They were like, oh, I remember Nanny and Granda came over, and because my ex-wife told them that I was in because I had a sore tummy, and that's why I was in hospital.
Right.
So they came over to stay, and the crisis team were out every day for 2 weeks, and I think most people agreed that I needed to take a little bit of time to just completely unplug from everything, just out of the environment. So I went to Belfast for 6 weeks, and the hardest thing I've ever had to do was say goodbye to my kids for 6 weeks. It broke I literally cried for.
And after you've already just been through all that, and then you've got to leave your kids as well.
Well, a massive amount of guilt, actually, because I remember a couple of days before I'd taken my daughter over to the park, and I was pushing her in the swing, and I was like, I nearly left her without a dad. This is the thing, it still gets me. I still have a little bit of residual guilt. I've forgiven myself for that. Because I wasn't well. But that I nearly left my kids without a dad is just, to me now, it seems absolutely ludicrous. It honestly, and I remember it's still vivid in my head, pushing her, and I was like trying to hold back tears. Pushing her on the swing, and she was the joy.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
She was elated, like she was feeling so good. I was pushing her, And I had to walk
Frankie,
away and cry.
Yeah.
And my dad had to like take over pushing her. I was like, and I just could. The emotion was coming out because it was so. I mean, I woke up in hospital and I thought it was a ghost. I honestly thought I can't be alive.
Yeah. So when you came around, you thought I can't be back.
This can't be real.
Whoa,
I mean,
man.
oh
And
my!
could you immediately remember?
I remember everything.
Remember everything
remember
straight
everything.
away. Yeah.
But I remember actually going, being an atheist. I was like, is Catholicism real? Is this purgatory?
Yeah.
Like I had weird conversations, and for a week I thought it was a ghost.
Whoa.
I had planned everything so to cause as least trauma as I could.
Wow.
Played from a funeral, repatriation of a body to Belfast, and signed my car over to my brother. He didn't know about this, and everyone was just going to realise. And then, as crazy as it sounds, there was a bit of method in my madness,
Yeah.
and it was all to try and help.
Organised.
It
For
was
someone who must have been going through chaotic feelings
Yeah.
and thoughts, to be that organised and have that much foresight.
Oh, it was planned, but I mean that's one of my triggers now. Is like as an arbitrary figure, and I've talked to the crisis team about this, and they were trying to explain. I was trying to explain where it was. Most people deal in the kind of the lowest they'll hit 0, and maybe go up to 10. That's like everything's great. They
Yeah.
get to 0. It's like things aren't going well. Job isn't going well. There's a -10
Oh, I see.
that most people don't even break that ground. They think,
Right.
oh, I'm depressed, and they're on a
I'm
0.
I'm as low as I can get, and actually, this is basement.
I hit -10 hard.
Man.
Didn't think I hit it hard enough. Climbed back up and jumped back out again. I hit it hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and you came back from that.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a bit of help, and you need to ask for it. You need to be able, and you need to be open to help. Whether you ask for it, it's forced upon you, whatever it is. You need help.
Did you realise that after? Did you?
I realised
go,
it after. I realised I need, and I'd give full financial control to my mum and dad.
Wow.
I said I can't make decisions.
Yeah.
What I will do was I will talk to you about it. I need you to listen to me, and I will give you my rationale.
Yeah.
But I need you to listen to what I'm saying. Let me get it off my chest. And if you still think it's a good idea, I'll do it. And if you say no and veto it, it's not happening.
Right. Wow.
You have control of my life. I don't trust me.
Wow. I mean, that's huge, isn't it? And so how did they respond to that? Did they take that control?
Yeah, they did. I mean, it must be hard. I mean, if your child falls and scratches their knee, you're like, oh, I want to take that pain away.
Of course.
Seeing their adult son, who's also a parent, in that much pain must have broke my mum's heart. Like, she still worries about me.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate why.
Yeah.
And they put their life on hold, came over for a few weeks, and then I went back with them. And I did. I had to trust the other people to help me get better.
Yeah.
I did some counselling. And obviously the crisis team here liaised with the crisis team in Belfast,
Right.
which suicide in Belfast is way worse than anywhere in the
Is
UK.
it?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really, really bad. I mean, if anybody wants to know, it's the ultra macho environment. There's paramilitaries involved and all kinds. It's a mad spot to be in.
Yeah.
But the suicide rate there is higher in young males than anywhere in the UK. So I wasn't really that much of a crisis to them.
Yeah.
In comparative terms.
I see. Yeah, of
But
course.
I still had help, and there was I had a psychiatrist come out and talk to me, and had help from the NHS trust there,
And the security of being back home.
and the security being back at home. My mum and
Yeah.
dad gave me the space to do what I was up in the roof space. I built my own bed out of pallets, because it was in a roof space. So I made a modular bed so I could take it up there, and I wasn't sleeping, and I had my own space up there, which is quite good. I was doing a lot of meditation. That's when I sort of discovered meditation. Never thought it would ever work for me because my brain was it was just
On the go.
mental.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just constantly going. I could never sit down.
Yeah.
Meditation was really good for that, to kind of just slow things down, and I have a bit of clarity, which I've now talked to my son about as well, helping him with it.
Wow. Yeah.
Meditation, tried running, wasn't really there because I couldn't motivate myself to do something I knew was going to be good for me.
So you were still in that space.
I was
You were
still
in that
broken.
self.
I'd been broken down to the foundation, and I was trying to build myself up. I mean, I had an analogy that anytime I had a crack in the wall, polyfiller, It got to the point that my whole wall around that was holding me up was polyfiller.
Yeah. It's not sustainable.
Basically just white powder.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And it all fell down. I was just like, what's going on? My whole world just fell apart. But love from my friends and my family, realising how many people give a shit about me.
Yeah.
You know, at that point I'd convinced myself I was worthless. Knowing that there's people out there that A, depend on you, B, love seeing you, being around you.
Yeah.
You know, and they tell you, and it's and in a way, it's helped open up conversations with people. It's helped explain. Other people are going, actually, do you know what? I feel as bad. I can talk to you about that if you're okay. I mean, anybody that's listening to this and they do want to talk personally one-on-one, give me a shout.
Oh, man. I mean, that's just to be able to come on here and be as articulate and honest as you have. I think it will help people, man. I genuinely do. I feel so emotional about hearing your story, and I know, and you lived it, and yet you're able to talk about it with such precision, and you know.
Well, it's like watching myself through TV.
Yeah,
it doesn't have the same hurt anymore.
So when you look at it, it's not you, or it's
not. There's a bit of separation.
Yeah.
It's not completely me. It's happened to me, and the counselling that I've been through, and the work that I've done on myself has detached that trauma from it.
Yeah.
I remember trying to explain this to some of my friends not long after it happened, and I was reliving the trauma all the time. My mum said, "You're gonna have to stop doing this.
Right.
You can't keep telling people.
Give it time."
And I had to come out of WhatsApp groups from so many, like 2 or 3 different Ibiza groups and friends groups. I said, look, I just need to take some time away.
Yeah.
And I told one person, I said, look, please tell the rest of them what's happened. Here's what's happened. I just need to be, and they were like, take all the time you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a bit of time away, counselling, therapy.
How was the counselling? Where did you access that, and how did it?
So that was passed on from it was all self-referral through IAPT. And then there's also one that the crisis team had said about St John's University, their trauma counselling centre.
Right.
So these are specific trauma counsellors as opposed to just general practitioners.
I see.
And it was like, initially they offered 10 weeks, and if you needed more, there was another 10. So I had 20 weeks of counselling.
And did you know how to put it into words at that point then?
Pardon me. No, I had no idea. The counsellor was fucking fantastic. Yeah. Honestly, if I ever meet him, I said to him, see, if I ever see you out, I'm giving you the fucking biggest hug and we're going for a pint. And he goes, I'd love that. Yeah. And subsequently, I've just actually been signed up to do some research on behalf of the for this talk about how the counselling went over Zoom and things like that. I want to help more. I've signed myself to be a trustee on the Tyne and Esk or something.
Tyne Valley.
Their patient trust.
Wow.
So I want to help sort of get through that, and then maybe when I'm feeling a bit better, maybe look at sort of governorship and things, and seeing how I can improve that patient experience. And
that's amazing.
I just want to give back.
Yeah, because they helped you.
I've taken that help. I want to see if you can just help one person. Yeah, that's what this is all about.
Yeah. Well, I can tell, I can sense, if I can feel it exuberating from you, man. Yeah. And I'm so glad you're still here, Frankie.
Me too.
Honestly, man.
Honestly, I do.
You have so much to give, mate.
I'm thankful that I'm here. I'm not thankful it's happened. I'm grateful for the experience and it not succeeding. Yeah. You know, at one point I thought I was failing to be a failure. Oh, God, but now I'm glad I failed. Of course, yeah. You know, it's a good way to be around. And, you know, we sort of touched on, you know, fitness and what's going on. It was like around about February this year was when I set my goals for this I call them yearly survival goals. Okay. So it's February to February. You know, everybody does their annual goals at Christmas and I'm going to do this and New Year's resolutions and all that stuff.
So what did you set? How did that work?
Year 1 was counselling, get my shit together. Year 2, run 2 10Ks. Yeah. 1 under 50, sub 50, if possible. Yeah. And everyone was like, no, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that. But I got down to 53 minutes, basically.
Yeah, man, that's good time, man.
Your really 10K was 1 hour, 1 minute, but we kind of ran together for a bit. So I don't think it was a fair representation. But I was like, well, it was a good first 10K ever.
Yeah, man.
I got my t-shirt on. It was all good. And then the Abbey Dash there was 52 minutes, 53
that's a
seconds.
Good time, dude.
52 minutes, 55 seconds, sorry. And
how did that feel, crossing that line? And
awesome.
Yeah.
But I know I can do better.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get down to 45 minutes.
Have you always been goal driven like this then?
No,
Is this...
I never set goals
Right.
because I didn't want to admit to myself that I could fail.
Okay. Fear of failure.
Fear of failure, yeah. And I was
Yeah.
even goals at work. I was always willing to take on extra stuff for different things, so I could use that as an excuse not to do what
Your
I was,
actual...
yeah.
Right.
the actual goals.
So first year, get your head straight.
Yep.
Second year...
First year internal, second year external.
Right. And we're now coming towards the end of that second year. You've done
towards the end of
both 10Ks.
Both 10Ks, trained to be an electrician. And then it was also, when I changed over meds, I had this crazy dream.
Oh, you put this on the form, yeah.
Yeah,
Tell me
the
about
books.
the dream. So
Oh, the book. Oh, man, this was crazy. I remember waking up. So this was transitioning from sertraline to vortioxetine, which is this like new drug that's like wonder for depression. It does actually work.
Wow, okay.
And the doctor said, sort of wean yourself off one and start this other one. But stupid me, not really concentrating, just took them all. So I just like, so I was lying one night and got to sleep, and I woke up this next morning going, that weird dream. I don't know if you heard of Hayley Atwell. She was Captain Marvel, Peggy Carter.
Oh, right, yeah. Miss
yeah.
America or whatever.
Yeah, so she was in the dream, like not in a dirty way, like. But it was set in Belfast, and it looked like a BBC documentary, you know, that like a BBC series kind of dream, and I was like, I've definitely watched this, haven't I? So I went on to IMDb, searched for Hayley Atwell, looked at the stuff, and I was like, there's nothing
So you
there.
actually thought you'd watch this
I
thing?
thought I'd watched this,
Whoa.
yeah. And it was all about like Irish mythology, you know, the story in itself is around that, you know, fairies and stuff had always been about, but they've always been linked towards nature, and because we basically fucked the planet,
Yeah.
their power had decreased. But now we're talking about sustainability and being more eco-friendly. Their power's coming back as we're being, and so it's how they're going to reintegrate with our life. And I've researched so much, and it's been like,
That sounds incredible, man.
I've got names, I've got, you know, characters, I've got plots, I've got stories, but there's so much going on in my life at the minute.
Yeah.
That I need to be. The story isn't coming out as much, but I've got.
But this could be another goal, I guess.
Well, I've got 3 books.
Yeah. Have you really?
Well, the main story was basically the second book, but the first book will have to explain.
Set it up, sort of thing.
It's like going back to like having a dig at like St. Patrick come in, and the Catholic Church took credit for this special child. My son's called Oliver. So he was the special child in Irish. It's pronounced Oliver, but it's spelled Irish. I haven't spelled it Irish, sorry. But in the book it will be, because the second book there's a special child, and that child has the potential to be good or evil, not born inherently, but it depends on what's going on. And she's called Lara, which is my daughter. And like there's just so much going on, and it's honestly it's.
And this, did you wake up and go,
yeah.
I think I've got
something here.
I think
actually,
I've got something.
see,
If it doesn't already exist, then I've watched it.
Yeah, I thought
then
I'd
it's
watched
in
it,
here, and I'm
it was
ready
all in
to.
here. And I have a wall pretty much similar to what you have here. You're probably talking 2 meters squared.
Yeah.
And it was just post-it notes of the story, and it was like different.
You usually wake up from a dream, and you can't give it an hour. You can't remember anything that's happened.
I still think about this, but I've created this whole like. So you're thinking the likes of way J.K. Rowling has created Hogwarts and that.
Yeah.
I've created another story, and then I was like,
"You've got
is
a
this
world.
healthy?
You've got a world there." Well,
Yeah.
maybe it is. Maybe it's.
It could be. The story's still there. I've now digitized it, and I've sort of looked in the, you know, so this was sort of set in current times, and you know, one of the main characters is me and my 2 brothers. My mum's involved in that as one of the characters, as like, you know, like a fairy godmother, and I've linked sort of Irish stuff. You know, I grew up on a kind of Protestant side of it, which is less Irish, and we were always, you know, we're
Seen
British,
as-
not Irish, and stuff like that, and not getting into the whole politics in Northern Ireland. But I've always been interested in that, but never felt I could look into it, because that was the other side of the community, which is all the troubles that were about, etc. Blah blah blah. But now I've had a chance to look into it. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. So I've got like loads of.
So you can weave that into the story. This could be part of it.
Yeah,
Mate,
and I've actually
really...
taken my the alter ego, that Funtime Frankie, but the darker side of him, and he's a character in the book.
It sounds like quite a healthy way to kind of bring everything together and give.
Do you know what? I'm excited for that to come out. I'm really can't wait for that story to come out, but it has to be ready to come out, and I don't think I'm in the space to do that.
No, to
So-
write, to
Yeah, to sit down. I mean, it's been about trying to advance get my life back on track, as well as
Yeah.
my body in a better shape. You know, I've lost 2.5 stone. I've been out running. I've been intermittent fasting. I've been doing Krav Maga.
yes, right. Tell
been
us about
kicking-
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. So it started when I first came back from Belfast after my recuperation. I was like, I need to do something. I used to
Yeah.
do Kung Fu when I was younger, and I really enjoyed it, but I wanted something that was like really practical.
Yeah,
And I think Dan had mentioned about like Wing Chun,
yeah.
and I'd done something similar, which is called Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's.
Well,
He made this.
Yeah,
he
I
made it.
I did 3 years of Wing Chun,
Yeah,
and I loved it.
it's
You've got to have the right tuition.
Yeah.
You've got to have the right tutor, and you've got to have that motivation, because it's
Exactly.
You know, it's
this is just
commitment.
before I went backpacking. I was doing this
Right.
with my dad, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
And then obviously that had all closed down, etc. And I got here, so I started at Spartan's Academy, and I
Right.
had the tattoo of a Spartan before that.
And where's this academy then? Whereabouts?
It's over where Macabingo was.
Right,
There's
yeah,
a
yeah.
place called the Melbourne Centre in there, so they do that there. There's a class in Hull,
Right.
Leeds, Newcastle, Harrogate. They do it different nights. So
Yeah.
depending if I don't have this week, I was at York on Monday night.
Right.
Tuesday
you
night
can
in
go
Leeds.
whichever works for you.
Well, depending on what membership you have, you
Right.
could have full membership or whatever.
Right. And
so-
it's an Israeli.
It's Israeli. So I think what they've done is they've taken, excuse me, they've taken a lot of different styles. You'll see some like boxing stances. You'll see some kung fu kicks. You'll see some Thai, karate.
Right. It's like an
And-
amalgamation.
They've taken what's useful out of all of those and made it a really practical fighting system.
Sounds brutal.
It's extremely brutal,
Right.
but it's meant to be. It's
Yeah.
it's a self-defense mechanism to, if you are put in a position where you can't get away,
Yeah.
hurt that person as much as you can. Like you're talking about,
Right.
if someone tries to stab you with a knife,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like, oh, please don't hurt me. It's
yeah.
like
Yeah. This is
they're-
destroy their arm.
destroy them and
Right.
get away as quickly as you can.
Right. So it's because the thing with Wing Chun was very much that it could be done by an 8-year-old
Mhm.
or an 80-year-old.
Yep.
It could be taught to anybody. It was rolling. It was
Yeah.
deflection. Yeah. Chi Sao.
Cheeks out.
There was
yeah.
plenty of that, and there was and it was great for me because I'm small.
Yep.
And it relied more on sort of
you'd love Krav Maga.
positioning rather than sort of body mass and ability
Technique
to sort
always
of
wins.
Right. So it's similar to that.
My
You don't
son does
need
it.
to be big. You don't need to be grappling.
No, you don't
It's-
want to. It's technique. My son
Yeah.
started. They do Young Spartans on a Friday night, so he was there tonight. And
Right.
he's doing. So we're Krav Maga buddies, we call it.
That's cool, man.
So, and there's all about. I mean, we'll go to a class, and there's like I could be with an older woman.
Yeah.
It could be there's young girls. There's kids at 14, 15.
It's
and
a leveler.
we all train together.
Right.
But if you're training with someone that's a lot smaller, I mean, I can kick pretty hard.
Yeah.
I know Dan was talking about like kickboxing as well,
Yeah,
and Muay
yeah.
Thai and the difference
Yeah.
in those. I know I can kick hard,
Right.
but if I'm training with somebody that can't take that, it's about technique. It's
Yeah.
about controlling that power. And actually, do you know what? Controlling the power is better than just rattling through trying to
Yeah.
kill someone. You know,
Well, I think that's another thing about there's a community spirit there. You know
Yeah.
what you're working with. You want to make you and the person you're sparring with better, don't you? It's not.
Yeah.
It's something about martial arts that really gets people. It connects with people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dan said that it saved his life, and that
It's
it
been
feels
good.
like finding religion for him.
It's been good for me. It's obviously it's a subjective journey for everyone. For me, it was a good thing to do weekly.
Yeah.
When I got to this stage in February, this goal, I was like, I need to be faster and fitter and lose more weight for me to be good at this.
Right.
And that's when I started running and was doing then I said, right, I'm doing the 10K, and that was I made myself accountable to my counsellor then.
Right.
So I'm going to go back in February, and I have messaged him saying, here's a photo of me doing the 10K. Here's a photo of me, doing the, and he's like, come back on this is brilliant.
That's amazing.
Because generally they don't hear from anybody again until they need help. So it's been good in that respect that it's given me something to focus on. So obviously been running and that. I went to Romania for a week, and that was called Extreme Krav, and it was 6 hours a day for 6 days. So you get up, started at 9 in the morning.
So you
finish
didn't have
at
time
3.
to see any Romania. You just
No.
went there and did Krav Maga for 6
It was
days.
insane.
God.
So the master here, he is Romanian. He was like he was Romanian presidential guard. He was in the army. He was like, and
Wow.
he is a whole new level. Like
Beast mode.
just supremely focused, and he's
Yeah.
really really good.
Yeah.
And he took us for 6 hours a day for 6 days. It was just insane.
And do you feel now like is that like 6 months over here?
It was.
Of
It's
weekly?
probably. It'd probably be the equivalent.
You've
But
taken it.
what they were doing there, it would take months to get a class up to that standard. We were doing
Right.
it just drill, 10-minute drills of kicking. My legs were killing me.
Wow.
Some days you're burning 4,000 calories.
Yeah. And did you know anyone? Did you go with the crew from?
I knew one or two people, and
Yeah.
by the end of it, we were like family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm actually tomorrow. I'm going to another one. It's the Grand Master from Israel coming over, and he trains he's called Dr. Itai Gil. He is like the Israeli Special Forces instructor for Krav Maga. He's doing a 6-hour seminar tomorrow, so that's all good.
Sounds intense, man.
It is.
That's awesome. So maybe a little about your electrician's journey. Like where are you now?
Yeah.
Like
That's quite an important step.
yeah. I mean, we've talked fitness, haven't we? So we've got you running.
Yep.
We've got your Krav Maga. Is there anything else fitness wise? I don't know if there is. Is there?
No, I don't think fitness wise there. It was just getting into healthy. I was looking at metrics like BMI. I've got smart scales, so I like to hack myself. I like to hack data. So I've got like smart watches. I've got.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, the fasting and the.
Oh, intermittent fasting. Yeah, it was
so
I was seeing a wonderful girl there for about 8 months, and we were sort of talking about being healthier, and she introduced me to intermittent fasting. And I was like, oh, I quite like my food. I love cooking, So I was like, how do I stop myself eating?
Yeah.
But actually, when I get into it, I was like, this isn't that hard, and I could
No.
see the effects of it. And now, so I try to do a 20-hour fast and 4-hour eating window.
That's.
It sounds harder than it is.
Yeah. Well,
but you have to build up to it.
16-8.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 16-8? Yeah, I do 12 until 8 p.m. eating window, and I only do it.
When do you have your dinner?
I only do it 4 or 5 days a week. I have my dinner. I have lunch at lunchtime. I have my dinner at. It depends between 5 and 7, depending on when we finish work.
I like to eat about 5 if I can.
Right. Yeah. Well, so yeah. I mean, what I found about it was much easier than doing. We tried the 5-2 diet. We tried cutting counting our
needs to be a
calories.
lifestyle.
We tried the Joe Wicks 10-minute. We tried to reduce, and
Yeah.
I find it much easier to draw a line.
Well, it's like any diet. Anything that you do, if it's a fad or I'll do this for a while until I reach this goal. Like running, for example.
Or it's complicated, or it
Yeah.
involves you changing your cooking patterns and stuff. Like I know what I like to eat,
Yeah.
and what I like to cook.
I've changed my eating habits as well, because now I've got 4-hour window. I'll have something really
It's
healthy.
Not long, is it?
It sounds harder than it is.
Especially with all the physical exercise you're doing as well.
Well, I just make sure that I've got foods that are able to sustain me then. So I know that I finish
Yeah.
eating at 5, 6 o'clock. I don't eat till 1 o'clock the next day.
Yeah.
So I make like a fruit. So it's frozen fruit, bananas,
Right.
raw eggs, ground like mill seeds and stuff. It all gets blended up, goes
Wow.
into an ice pack, like a thermos case with an
Yeah.
ice pack. And that does me till lunchtime. It's a really healthy.
It's
I know there's
fuel.
loads of sugar in it, but there's
Yeah,
eggs
yeah.
and there's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I've a couple of like snack bars, so I'm not doing as much crappy eating.
No.
But for
And you
me,
still cook yourself dinner.
Oh,
you
yeah,
still have
yeah,
a
still,
dinner.
I
You still
mean,
have a banging dinner.
love cooking.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So it
man.
hasn't actually affected your cooking. And this
No.
is the thing: is I like to eat a good dinner. I like to, I'll still have lunch. Skipping breakfast was not that difficult. Shortening the window, and actually once a month now, I'll do a 24-hour fast.
Done a 48.
Have you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, the beauty of the 24-hour for me was that I didn't have to go to sleep hungry, because I started it after I'd had my dinner.
Yeah.
And then I could sleep. And then I played football the next night, expecting this is going to be really hard work. And I had extra focus. I felt slightly better than I expected to. Certainly wasn't as lacking in energy as I expected. But then obviously I could eat before bed the second night. I can't imagine going to bed hungry. That must have been quite difficult, was it?
Do you know what? I mean, you can drink as much water as you like, black coffee, black tea, things like that. You can have as much of that 0-calorie stuff as you want. And if you're used to doing that, you're not depriving yourself.
No.
So when you get to the point where you're into ketosis and your body starts using the fat reserves, your body doesn't realize it's hungry.
And
like R46, I was like, I've got 2 hours left. I'm really starving, and I was like
imagining
super
food,
focused.
what
Like, everything
food
was
you're
like,
gonna eat.
when you see those like cartoons, you see like birds, and I was like seeing burgers and fucking all sorts of like. So I remember, but one of the advice was, don't just start eating because you'll end up ill. So I had like a little snack bar kind of thing.
Build up to a proper dinner. Yeah, no, that sounds really interesting. I mean, I found it to be. I lost a huge amount of weight by starting to run, but starting to fast, and also for me, I just expected it to be harder. I think we get into that comfort state of
Yeah.
I'm hungry, I eat. I'm hungry, I eat. There's something
Bored.
quite nice about
If you're bored, you
yeah,
eat.
of challenging yourself. Of what can I, embracing that discomfort a little bit, just delaying that gratification
Yeah,
a little bit.
that's important.
Teaching yourself to you don't need everything to be just so right now.
Did you make the decision that it was going to be a lifestyle change or something you're going to do for a little bit of time and then maybe change?
I think initially for me it was you're overweight and you
Yeah.
didn't realise you COVID and alcohol
Yep.
over COVID and eating whatever you want and not moving much. For me it was run, start running, and then I talked to a mate of mine, Craig, who'd been doing it for 4 years and made it a lifestyle choice.
Yep.
And he said, just try it. Just give it a
Give
go.
it a go.
And once I gave it a go, it was like, this isn't a diet. This
Yeah.
is just
It's a lifestyle.
it's a lifestyle, and it's a very clear cut. Just don't. And actually, you think the hunger comes in waves, and like you say, you can have a glass of water, you can have a cup of coffee,
Exactly.
you can keep those calories low, and then once you do eat, it's not like you don't force food down, you don't overeat.
Yeah.
You just eat as normal, and then actually your appetite drops. So after the third or fourth day of doing it, I was like, I'm not as hungry as I was.
It's not as scary as you thought.
Yeah, my stomach must have shrunk a little bit, and I'm not expecting that food. And
What about like some crappy foods that I used to love don't taste as good anymore?
chocolate is still problematic for me.
That's never going to change.
But again, I have ways of dealing with that. Is that I don't have it in. I used to just buy it in,
Same.
and then I'd smash through it.
Yeah.
And I don't buy it in. And
Remove the temptation.
Sometimes it's hacking yourself a little bit.
It
isn't
is. I have the treat time, so maybe the odd Saturday night I'll go right. I'm going to have some beers, and I'll just like fuck it. I'm going to have a party night tonight.
Yeah.
And I'll demolish a big bar of Galaxy
But
as
I think
well.
you feel like you can allow yourself that.
Yeah.
There's less guilt, I think, if it's
True.
like, well, actually,
It's
6
not a habit.
days is I mean, I do Monday to Thursday with the intermittent fasting, and actually, I found that works for me. But I do from what I read about. I watched that Panorama. Is it Panorama? There's a documentary, Eat Fast and
Yeah.
Live Long or something, and it talked about all the different types of fasting, but it discussed some of the research around it about kind of, but your body going into recovery mode, and
Yeah.
actually it rebuilds
That's
cells.
when you start getting into that 48-hour, 72-hour
Yeah.
fasting. You
You-
can't do it all the time, but
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
help get rid of the sort of the damaged cells, and it can be really. It does have health benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to work out what works for you, because
Yeah.
again, like mental health, it's subjective.
Yes.
What works for you? What
Yeah.
works for your lifestyle?
Well, Anna
what's
tried it, and it made her migraines worse.
Yeah.
So she needs the food at certain times of day, and that,
Yeah,
that makes sense for
works.
her. So you got to try these things and not necessarily commit to them.
Give people your experience and let them make the decisions. I mean,
Yeah.
I've a view on similar. If you want to talk about religion in that respect, is like it's like a penis. It's great you've got one, fun to play with. Just don't try and shove it down anybody's throat.
That feels like the right note to finish on, but no, we've got a little more to go now. No, that's well. Thank you for that wisdom. Yeah, no. So, thank you for telling us. Kind of, I feel like we've really kind of got a sense of where you were and what you've been through, and also how
problem.
you've kind of come out of it. But where are you now? Like, what's going on for you? What's next for Frankie?
I've just finished college today, so there's 4 stages in becoming an electrician. There's an apprentice, there's an improver, an electrician's mate, and then an electrician. Or if I want to say electrician's mate, because some people don't understand me accent when I say mate. And so I'm an electrician's mate level now. The next stage is an NVQ to be fully qualified, and that's going to take a little bit of time to gain the evidence to show all of the stuff that I've learned. So I'm actually on quite a high today. A natural high today, which is good. Feeling really good about finishing today. I've graduated, which is awesome.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
When I was looking back through our groups, I could see back in September you sent a message saying that you were studying and that you were excited about it, and it feels like this. You just applied yourself to studying again.
Yeah.
I mean, how's that felt?
I looked at it as a job.
Yeah.
My job is to be an electrician. It's my goal.
Right.
When I was studying, I'm turning up to work, and my dad always said to me, "It doesn't matter what job you're doing, you do it to the best of your ability."
Right.
That's the one thing that's always stuck from my
Yeah.
dad. I've started teaching my kids that as well. And it's sort of jumping into another subject. I've been trying to tell my son, or trying to help him understand what it is to be a good man.
Yeah.
And I've distilled it down to two things. You do the right thing, even if it's the hardest thing, and you do what you say you're gonna do.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's like trying to live those values as well. You know, I know we talked earlier about like being responsible for a child growing up and what their values and things are, and similarly showing my daughter what a good man looks like, as not just physically but internally, you know.
Of course.
And, like, I take her on daddy-daughter dates, so we go for pizza and I turn up in my car and I have a suit on.
Oh yes,
we go, you know, I haven't done that much of them because I've been unemployed and I haven't got money and things are always a bit tight, but we were talking about that the other night. She goes, "Oh, I really remember you taking me here and taking me there."
That's so lovely, man.
I'm like, I love the fact that that's her first.
She remembers.
She'll remember. That's her
It's core memory, isn't it?
That's what she needs to know. Like whoever she's with treats her like that. Not that it's material, but makes the effort.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So what's for me next is just let's get out, get some work, get on to get into a property that's big enough, because at the minute I'm still in a 2-bedroom flat, so I've given my son my room and I sleep on the sofa bed.
Yeah.
Because they need a bit, you know, he's 12 and she's 10. It's, you know,
they need their space.
Need their space, so we share a room. So when they're with their mum, then I get my room back, and then with me, I sleep on the sofa bed. That's all right, but
it works.
You know, it's what I need to do, just to give them a bit of space. And you know, sometimes you're like, I really miss my bed, or I hope they realise what I'm doing. But you know, it's just all part of the parenting journey.
And how has going back to study been for you then? Have you taken to it? Is it?
I've really taken to it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of practical side of it. Some of it was like mad maths. I mean, some people I'm sure in the group that maths isn't an issue, but you know, for me, I haven't done maths in like 30 years. It's like working out. You know, a lot of it's right angle triangle based. So if you imagine what you pay for electricity wise, is the hypotenuse, which is the long side of a triangle. What your circuits use is the true power, which is the bottom, which would be the adjacent. And the opposite, which is the, you know, if you want to look at it as a right angle triangle on its side, the other side is the reactive power, which is the wasted stuff. An analogy we use is a pint glass. You pay for the stuff that's inside a pint. You drink the liquid, and the foam is the wasted crap. So we're still wasting quite a bit, are we? We're getting, well, that's a job as an electrician, is to try and reduce that. And that's where kind of I see myself going into that kind of intelligent home. You know, I've set a business up called Bright Sparks of York. This is your own business, is it? Yeah, well, I've set that up. I haven't started trading yet. But that will be... That's where I want to be going, so... Congratulations, man. That's awesome. It's where I'm going in the future. You know, I want to look at domestic side of it, about that whole making a house intelligent, not just smart plugs and Alexa and all that kind of stuff, but actually having solar panels and battery walls and micro generation, it's called. So, you know, if you've got a river nearby, can you use that to harness, you know, hydroelectric, you know, wind turbines and that kind of stuff? And do you think people will start to... It's where it's going. Well, look at the price of electricity. Well, this is it, is that the idea of being able to cut yourself off from the grid and be self-sufficient, but also must be being intelligent in the way that home works for you. So when you're at home, when they see that the you know, there are programs out there, it's how to bring that and make it accessible for everyone. Because I mean, it's easy to install Alexa, but there's some people that's just like rocket science. You know, a Ring professional installer and a Google home Nest. Some people just don't get it. I'd love to make that accessible to people. Well, that sounds mint. Again, helping people. I was going to say, going in and chatting to people and finding out what they want and making it happen for them. I can see you doing that very much so, mate. So you've finished college. You're an electrician's mate. You started a business. You've not started trading, but you've started. The snowball is gathering momentum. I need to be out working with some people to gain some experience, just to kind of. I don't want to go in and wing it. I don't want to, of course, sell somebody something that I can't do. I want to be able to go out and really do a good job for someone. So go and work for a company and find somewhere. Just got to get out there and start doing something. Start making a change. Good, man. That's exciting. I'm so excited for you. So we've got a few things here noteworthy from your form. We've got, you're ordained to marry people. Have you actually married anyone? No. This was actually, it's a pretty funny story, and I'll be very quick about it. my youngest brother was getting married, and my cousin was his best man. And we were joking that we were going to pretend that they were married, and I was going to marry them for real. And then in his in my cousin's best man speech, he was going to say to his my sister-in-law now, who's a solicitor, actually he's not the first married. But
that is elaborate.
I know. I trained them well. They're two little weirdos. And so I got ordained. Yeah. So I mean, like, people just sort of laugh, and I was like, I've offered it a few times. One of my best friends is getting married next year. I'm like, I'll marry you, and his wife she was like, nope. They were both holiday reps in Ibiza as well, mind you. And then Danny was like, nope, not happening. And I was like, come on,
gotta use it now. You've got it. Yeah.
So anyway,
I love it. Also, tattoos. You've got quite a few. I can see one arm very full.
Yeah. So, I had one of those tribal bands you get in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
I got it lasered off, actually, so this could
Wow, how was that?
Sucked
It was
balls.
as bad as the tattoo.
Worse.
Was it?
So anyone that's thinking about getting a tattoo, it's much more painful getting it off than it is getting it on.
Wow, no way. I assumed it would be less for some reason.
No, it's like getting pinged by an elastic band. You know, like you get pinged and it's like, oh, it sucks. Imagine the elastic band's about a foot wide and pinged from the moon repeatedly.
Oh, no.
And it burns.
And for how long? How long did you have to sit for?
Oh, you're talking 30 seconds. It goes and it works around and it inflames up. So you get that done 3 times.
Right.
It was a block, but the art that I have is incredible. That's my family crest I've got on there.
Wow, no way.
So if anybody ever meets me and they want a story, every single thing means something.
Wow. Give us a quick run through then.
I'll probably
I'll
tell you about one of them. So there's a guy here, which I need to live by more.
Yeah.
And it's a guy with his fingers up to his head with a gun.
Yeah.
But on the other side, it's coming out. It's a rose or a flower. So that kind of means no matter how shit life can get, something good can come out of it.
Wow. Yeah, man.
It's a really poignant tattoo.
Yeah, I love it.
I've got various different things about traveling. I've got Northern Ireland in there. I've got Ibiza.
Wow.
The Ibiza wall lizard.
So did you just kind of, it's just been a slow progress, or have you kind of built them up and done it all at once?
Oh, that's 36 hours of tattooing time.
Yeah, but all
close
it was like
together. 6 sessions. Oh, yeah, well, I mean...
You knew what you wanted, and you asked
I knew kind of what themes that I wanted and what stuff meant, and the tattoo artist, he's called Paul Mortz. He was at Ruby Arts beside KFC, but he set his own shop up in Heslington.
Right.
And he is fucking spectacular.
Yeah, well, it looks incredible.
He's actually got artistic rights to this, or artistic license, sorry. I don't know what I'm getting till I turn up.
Oh,
he
so
knows
you
he knows me that well. I've given him I'll give him about 10 pages of something. This means this, and some of the stuff he's taken as is and tattooed it. Other stuff like this eagle is 3 different things that he's put together. I've got my family crest on there.
That's superb, mate.
I have
really
a Spartan, and actually, Spartans never give up.
Is that why?
That's what that's about.
The Krav Magas, they call the Spartans as well, right?
Krav Maga is called the Spartans Academy. Now, it's not. I got it before I joined that. I knew about that, right? So
that's cool.
So I got that before. But even whenever my mind gave up, my body didn't.
Yeah.
And it's every part of my tattoo means something. Everything really does. Even
you've got a bit of blank space on the left arm, but
that's
going to be fully colour there.
It's going to be fully coloured. So the right arm's black and white, and the tattoo artist worked, as I say, 36 hours just on this arm. And I've done like 20 hours on this arm already because colour takes more. But this one's going to be vividly bright.
Yeah.
And I love them. But if you ever fancy getting a tattoo, think about what you want, stick it on your fridge, and if you want it after a year, it's worth doing. Yeah,
that's good advice. That's cool, man. Well, I think we said one of your tattoos links to maybe one of the songs as well. Yeah, is that right? Because we'll talk about the. I'm calling it For the Record. I think everybody's who's come on has brought a song or two. It's really hard to pick songs, I'm not putting any pressure of it being like the most important song to you. But
we'll make it personal.
Some people do have a favorite
music's
song.
Important to me,
or something that's got them through a period of time or whatever. So you gave me one song, but also. It has a direct link to your artwork, right?
It does. So the best song ever written is Karma Chameleon by Culture Club.
Yeah.
it's just such a beautiful song, and everybody always, it's very underrated, and people are like, oh yeah, it's a very happy song. Listen to the words, listen to the lyrics, and actually, go and look at them. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my red, gold, and green, and it's just like I know the colors aren't there, but it's the vibe. It's like every time I hear that, I'm like, yes, I'm there. It's instant smile, and I get voice notes from people like they're out, and there's like Karma Chameleons on it, like 3 a.m, and you got like this voice note of the Karma Chameleon. They're all like singing to me, and I'm like,
that's
yes,
good. Everyone knows it's your favorite.
It's my tune. It's my tune.
It comes on your off.
I wasn't sure if I wanted like the lyrics done in white ink so you couldn't see them and stuff, and the guy was like, actually, why don't you go for a red, gold, and green chameleon?
Yeah,
I'm like, fuck, that's a cracker idea.
It's so vivid.
It is vivid.
How old is it? It looks very new.
I got it done in February,
right?
Which was I got it done on the 2nd year survival.
That's amazing.
So I got the black and the shadow done, and then the color came afterwards. But that was a year. A year 2, so that was the 2nd year survival. So it was a milestone moment.
Wow, so
and
really meaningful.
That's a really really meaningful tattoo.
That's amazing, dude. Thank you. And there's a couple of other songs you had to enjoy. Anthem.
Yeah, so I was listening to this on the way over in the car today. I'm a big sort of trance. Obviously, I've talked about Ibiza loads. I love the trance music. I love dance music, and Enjoy Anthem.
Yeah, big tune.
It is a cracking tune. Like you're talking late 90s kind of tune, and it still to the day gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think about that like life. I'm in love with you. Want you to love me too.
Yeah.
It's some of these things, and that's pretty much all the lyrics that's in it.
Yeah.
But it just gets me.
Yeah, and I guess it takes you back to a time.
It's just a tune.
Yeah,
it's absolutely.
massive tune.
There's loads of tunes that make me smile, and like when I listen to them, like I've a Spotify playlist. It's about 18 hours long of just all these. It's like all old music, and you get these people going, "Oh, this new music's really crap" and all this. But that music for me just takes me back, and it's spine tinglingly good. I mean, goosebumps. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
Share that playlist with me.
I will do. Yeah,
that playlist with
it's
me
not for everyone, but if you do like your music,
it's
absolutely, absolutely there.
Amazing. And then we asked for a sad song as well, and
So there's 2 songs that I have, and I'm sorry if I'm hijacking that in terms of
that's cool, man.
More songs the better.
There's no rules
on the just like Krav Maga. There's 2 songs. The one I remember watching Adele sing at the Brits, "Someone Like You."
Yeah,
and it's a good way to reflect on things that haven't worked out. And I'm not being specific about anything about marriage or breakups or anything. That's not what I mean. It's just I remember looking at that, and that was the first time that I cried in a long time, because I was an emotional stone. Just there was nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember just listening to that, and I remember her being introduced, and it was just her and a piano in that stadium.
Yeah.
And you could hear it was James Corden.
Yeah.
You could hear I have goosebumps even thinking about it now. And
she
just belted out that. I remember after she sang that, she nearly cried as well.
She was emotional with it, wasn't she? Yeah.
And you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
Was it Wembley?
Yeah, she's incredible.
It was immense. Probably one of the best performances I've ever seen, and there was nothing. There was no showmanship.
Yeah.
It was her and a microphone and a piano. It was fucking brilliant.
That's incredible, man.
And the other one was, we just talked about this tonight, and it sort of teleported me back to a very scary time, and it was Time to Say Goodbye.
Yeah.
And I had a friend of mine over, Dean. He was over for dinner, and it came on the TV, and as soon as the lady started singing, I bust out into tears, because I played that just before I went to bed, and that it transported me back right to that moment. Now, it didn't give me the trauma that was there, but it was like fucking swept me right off my feet. I mean, you could not have shocked me more if you had a sucker punch me in the face with a car. Yeah,
well, it's not a song that you hear often. But it's a really powerful, emotional song.
It's an amazing song.
And also it represents such an important time for you.
God, no, I don't know if it represents it. It took me back to that spot. If I heard it now, I don't think the power would be there to it, because I've heard it again. Because it happened to me with Karma Chameleon.
Right.
Every time I've heard that, I have perked up. I could be fucking hungover, sleeping. So to hear that bang, And the first time I heard it in Belfast when I was back staying with my folks, I cried.
Yeah.
But the thing is, no matter where you've been, and if you're in a journey to get better, you can be better. And you just don't beat yourself up.
Yeah. That's good advice, man. That's as good advice as any I've heard.
There's plenty of people out there that'll try and take you down. Don't be one of them.
No. Yeah. Yeah. We can be our own worst enemy sometimes, but
it shall pass.
Yeah, it shall pass. Thank you so much for...
Thanks for having me.
Man, it's been lovely. We'll do it again. I've been saying, it feels like it's really kind of cathartic and fascinating for me to get to know people and hear their proper stories, but equally I feel like I could talk to you for days.
Yeah,
we've got this done, and I'm so happy that you've shared it with us, like genuinely.
Yeah,
but
me
would
too.
love to talk to you again, man.
Well, I hope people can take something from it. I know it's a bit longer than some of the other podcasts, and I do apologise.
It's shorter than Jack's.
Oh yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah, you can talk for days as well. I mean, I could elaborate on so many other things. I've been excited to do this. I've been worried about it. There's been a whole different load of emotions around this. But firstly, I've been into the man cave.
Yeah.
Realise you've got some decks here. I'm like, yeah, Funtime could definitely be up here.
Yeah, well, come a little early next time. We'll play some tunes. We'll play some nights.
You'll get divorced. You know what it is? You know, there's a head case not anywhere near the place. No, it's been. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for having me involved in Menfulness as well. It has been a lifeline. It's lovely to be involved with a group of guys that, I mean, what you. I actually meant to say this earlier. What the five of you have done, bloody hell! Thank you.
Oh man,
you've created a space for men that don't probably feel to fit in. Honestly, wholeheartedly, thank you. I've talked about the crisis team. I've talked about St. John's trauma counselling. I want to actually say thank you for the guys, the trustees of Menfulness.
Thank you, man. That's very kind. I mean,
no,
it works because of people like you coming and doing this.
It's only here because of you guys. Yeah. So thank you. And I don't know. Hopefully, I can say on behalf of everyone in the group and anyone that's going to join the group, thank you.
That's very kind.
What you've created, whether it's the football, whether it's the running, whether it's all the different subgroups, the retro gaming nights, whatever. Fucking hell, guys! Thank you. It's only here. This is all here because of you guys.
Well,
so thank you.
That's super kind of you to say. But the reality is without people like you, it would just be us five. Do you know? The reality is that we do this together. We're in this together. I get as much from this.
I know you
as
do.
as everybody else.
I've heard that, but again,
genuinely,
it's only here because I mean, I'm a trustee of Scout Group, so you know I volunteer that as well, and I know what you get out of volunteering your time.
Yeah.
But all the kids are there getting something out of what we're doing, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
I'm just saying thank you, because for me, you've taken me from... It's given me a space to get fitter and be accountable to people and get people else involved. And
and you're encouraging others. Like I say, you in that running group, you'd be going, right, we've not had any videos for a little while. Where's all you running at? What are you doing? And then you put it in there, and then other people start shouting up, and just you're a huge part of this group. And what you say, I very much appreciate your kind words. But thank you for all you do as well, my friend. And I'm so fucking happy you're here. Genuinely, you've been through more than most will in a lifetime, but you are still here, and I'm here for it. I'm excited for what's next, Frankie.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. So thank you again for having me. Thanks for inviting me to the man cave. I feel privileged now. So anybody else wants to come on and sit here, it's a cool little spot, I must say.
Oh, that's good to know, man. That's good.
But thank you.
Until next time, my friend.
Cheers.
Peace out.